All right. Welcome, everyone. My name is Erin, and my pronouns are she, her, and I am the Student Recruitment Officer at the UBC Vancouver Campus. And I'd like to acknowledge that the land that UBC has built its Vancouver campus on, which we work, learn, connect, and innovate, is the unceded ancestral and traditional territory of the Musqueam peoples. I'd also like to start today by introducing my colleague who's going to start us off in the presentation today, Marie Reed.
Thanks, Erin. So like Erin said, I'm Marie Reed, and I'm one of the engineering advisors from the UBC Okanagan campus. My pronouns are she, her. I would like to acknowledge that the UBC Okanagan is situated in the territory of the Syilx Okanagan Nation and their peoples. I would also like to acknowledge that you may be joining us today from many places near and far, and acknowledge the traditional owners and caretakers of those lands. So the first thing I wanted to chat about is, what is engineering? You've probably done some math, physics, chemistry, maybe biology in high school. So before I talk about engineering, I wanted to see if you guys can maybe share with us, based on your experiences, what you think engineers do. And you can share with us by typing in the chat at the bottom of the Zoom window here, and I'll just give you guys a few minutes to type in what you think engineers do. Solve problems, they invent technology. Those are both great answers. Create designs for things to be used for a specific purpose, create new things and improve things, design structures and mechanisms, solve structural problems. Yeah, so these are all correct. Those are all great answers, and they do sort of showcase the different things that engineers do. Yep, turn objects from paper into real life, so that design process. So that's great. Thank you so much for sharing. So just like you've said, engineers design things such as your school building, bridges you see around, driverless cars, rockets, and maybe things that are a little bit less obvious, like they are involved in making the water we drink clean, creating new vaccines, or even in the development of foods such as cereal or soda pop. So before we start discussing engineering in more detail, let's chat about the difference between science and engineering, because that is a really big question that we get from prospective students. So scientists and engineers have different goals. Scientists seek to describe and understand the natural world. Engineers consider various criteria and constraints in order to design solutions to problems, needs, and wants that make the world better. So this includes our technology, environment, and medicine. So life and natural physical science focus on attaining fundamental knowledge about a subject through empirical and often quantitative methods. An engineer's goal, on the other hand, isn't to necessarily discover new scientific principles by observing phenomena, but rather to apply the principles attained through scientific research to solve real-world problems. So an example of this would be, scientists know the human body inside and out, and they can direct and assist engineers on what knowledge is most relevant. So an engineer can, say, design a new bionic arm as a form of prosthetic, or use that knowledge to mass produce vaccines that could be used in Canada or around the world. So next, I wanted to share a few stories about some of our students who've graduated from both the Okanagan or the Vancouver campus and what they've done with their engineering degree. So Jenny Hoslin is the lady in the bottom left photo, and this student studied civil engineering. After graduation, Jenny worked in transportation engineering on projects such as public transport planning in Vancouver and Toronto. She then got a super exciting opportunity to transfer to London, England for the same company, and it was there that she worked on road safety analysis, travel demand management, and much more. Currently, Jenny is completing an energy and transport management program, and this is where she's able to combine her interest of management and the technical skills from engineering. And she also was super excited because she gets to complete a semester abroad in Europe. So Shania is a lady at the top left photo, and this student studied all about bionic arms as an electrical engineer in the biomedical stream, but she did much more than that. She also worked with Moses and Matthew to create Soma, an education platform that enables children to have access to world-class education tools and resources without an internet connection. Today, she works at McKinsey, a top consultancy in the world, where she works in a multidisciplinary team to advise the leadership of top companies and governments. And lastly, Jessica is on the right photo, and she graduated with a mechanical engineering degree. And as an undergraduate student, she completed autonomous vehicle research in an advanced control and intelligent systems lab. And after graduation, she went on to continue her studies at MIT. And it was there that she started to focus on developing an interface for young learners to create a conversational agent computer program that can talk to humans. So an example of this would be creating an app to help people living with deafness use Amazon Alexa. So currently she's completing her PhD at MIT with a focus on developing a conversational agent to lower the entry barrier to programming even further. So all of these students went into a Bachelor of Applied Science at UBC Engineering, and they've all gone down different paths doing very exciting careers in engineering. So engineering has a lot to offer. For one, you'll be studying a professional degree upon first entry to university. Other programs often require a graduate degree before you can enter the workforce, but that's not required for engineering. You typically complete the program in about 4 years, and upon graduation, you're fully equipped to join the workforce. That said, you're also equally equipped to take on graduate studies or a professional degree like law or medicine. If you do decide to go into the workforce, you're going to start off as something called an engineer in training. And after 4 years of work experience, then you can then apply to become a professional engineer. So we are very excited that you're interested in attending UBC Engineering. There's so much for you to look forward to throughout your degree. UBC Engineering really fosters community. Right from the time you enter UBC Engineering, you'll have support systems like our first year orientations and have the opportunity to get involved with so many different clubs, which is a great way to connect with your peers. UBC Engineering ensures that students are well supported so they can navigate their interests. An example of this is we have an engineering undergraduate society, and they organize events throughout the year and provide a space for students to connect with their peers and senior students who can talk about their journeys and share their experiences. But there are also many other ways that you can find your community on campus and at such a big university like UBC. You can do this through design teams or more than 400 campus-wide clubs. At the Vancouver campus, there are over 30 design teams that enable students to work together, explore their interests, and gain hands-on experience right from their very first year. At the Okanagan campus, there are also many great design teams and clubs that students can join as early as their first year. And again, this is a great opportunity to apply the knowledge that you're learning in your classes. So later on in your degree, you can also customize your studies by choosing to pursue a minor, which is a secondary area of study. So this is not a requirement, but it will allow you to have a secondary focus if you're interested. You'll also have the opportunity to gain paid work experience through our co-op program, which you can apply to at the beginning of your second or third year of study. And you may also consider going abroad to work, research, or study in your third year. So from the very start of your degree, you're going to be exposed to hands-on design projects where you'll work in teams with other first-year students. You'll also have courses year after year that continue to build on these project-based team learning experiences. And in your final year, you're going to have something called your capstone design project, where you and your peers work with industry partners to solve a real-life problem. A lot of our students also will get involved in research later in their degree, and this is a really great opportunity or there are really great opportunities for paid research experiences at both campuses. And you can basically go through those paid research opportunities, or you can even do research on your own with support from clubs like the Undergraduate Research Opportunities Club. And this club provides students with access to mentorship and networking opportunities to get started on your own research, which is a pretty cool opportunity. So now I'm going to pass it back over to Erin, and she is going to talk more about our programs and the admission process.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Marie. So yeah, we're going to talk a little bit about our programs. Now, we mentioned this a little bit already, but UBC Engineering is one program across 2 campuses. So you may have already looked into this already, but in case you don't know, the Okanagan campus is in Kelowna, and then we also have the Vancouver campus. Now, regardless of which campus you're considering on potentially applying to in the future, the foundational first year will happen at both campuses, which allows you to take those foundation courses that are part of your degree. So chemistry, physics, math, and English. That's where you'll really start your courses and be able to explore what those specific programs are that we offer within engineering. So that's what we'll talk about next. At the Okanagan campus, there are 4 specializations. So there's civil, electrical, manufacturing, and mechanical engineering. And students will choose their specialization through the second-year placement process at the end of their first year. At the Okanagan campus, there are no caps on our programs, which means that you will be guaranteed a seat in your specialization of your choice. Now, the Vancouver campus is a little bit different. There are 14 specializations as shown on this slide. Students still apply for the specialization at the end of your first year. However, at the Vancouver campus, the second-year placement process is competitive to place you into the programs. So it will be based off of your first-year average. But don't worry about that too much. Students at both campuses will learn lots more about the placement process throughout their first year. And the one thing that we do really consider, or really want you to consider, is that when you're looking at which campus you may want to apply to in the future, is that we do encourage you to start at whatever campus you plan to finish at. So if you want to do your full degree at the Okanagan, then we would recommend starting at that campus as well. Now, this is where a lot of questions that were sent in advance came in, is a little bit more about the specifics about admission. So that's what we'll talk about today as well. Now, some of the slides I'm going to go through in the next few pieces can get a little bit complicated. So if you do have any questions, please feel free to pop those questions into the chat and we can stop and answer those as we go through. So to start off with our admission routes, there's a few different ways to actually get into UBC Engineering at either campus. So what we most often talk to is what we call our direct entry to UBC students. So that's students applying directly from high school. Either you are, in the process of going through high school and will be just going straight from high school into university, or maybe you've already graduated high school and you're taking a gap year or something like that. As long as you're not attending any other post-secondary institutions in that time, you'd be considered direct entry to UBC. We also have several university transfer routes. So we have the engineering transfer program, which means that we have partners with 9 different institutions throughout BC where you can start your full first year program at that institution. And then as long as you meet the minimum requirements and complete that full engineering transfer program in the first year, you can come straight into the second year program at UBC. We also will allow transfer students from non-partnering institutions. So maybe you want to start somewhere else. It's also possible to transfer in to first or second year. That will be a competitive process. So it is dependent on what courses you're taking and your average and that sort of thing as well. For Indigenous students, there's two main pathways. In addition to the last two that I just mentioned, there is the Aboriginal admission policy. So if you're applying to UBC from high school or as a transfer student, that will always be applied if you have self-declared that you are Indigenous. And then we also have the Aboriginal Transfer Partnership with Langara, which is similar to the engineering transfer program that I had mentioned already. Finally, if any international students are attending today who do not meet the standard English language requirements, we do have what's called Vantage College, where you can start in that program to get yourself up to the English language requirements that we typically have, and then you would continue on into your second year. So on your application, when you're applying to UBC, you'll actually select, you'll be able to put your first choice and your second choice. You're able to put two choices. What happens when you're applying to UBC is that we will always consider your first choice first. If you are not admissible to your first choice, then we will consider your second choice. You can then also ask our admissions team to consider your second choice, even if you were admissible to your first choice. So if you do want to apply to both campuses, then you would make sure that you put whatever your first choice campus is first and your second choice campus second. If you're applying to the Bachelor of Applied Science for both of those campuses, then that's great. And then you can always ask admissions to consider your second choice as well. So that's definitely an option. What you see on the screen here is what you should be planning for. So our first round offer deadline is December 1st. I highly recommend everyone plan to apply by December 1st of your grade 12 year, because that will allow you to be considered for our automatic scholarship considerations, as well as some of our financial need-based scholarships as well. And the final deadline is typically January 15th of your grade 12 year, or if you're planning to transfer in basically whatever year before you're planning to start at UBC. So keep those dates in mind, but do always check the website, because those dates could change in the future, especially if we're talking, 5 years from now. Those dates could change, but typically this is what it has been. To a little bit more about the specifics of admission and what courses that we need. So our general requirements at the Okanagan campus are going to be that you are graduating from high school, and that it is recommended that you take at least 6 courses at the grade 12 level. So again, this is great for planning ahead. Those courses don't have to be taken in grade 12, but if you're taking grade 12 level courses in grade 11 or even in grade 10, that's totally okay. The degree-specific course requirements at the Okanagan campus are that you take English 12, Pre-Calculus 12, Chemistry 12, and Physics 12. These are the BC requirements. So if you are not coming from British Columbia, then you would need to take the equivalent of that course, or you can check out the website for your specific courses that you would need to take. At the Vancouver campus, the requirements are a little bit different. So do make sure that you're meeting, if you're wanting to apply to both campuses, for example, that you're meeting both sets of requirements. At the Vancouver campus, you'll still need to meet those first 2 general requirements. So graduate from high school, take 6 courses at the grade 12 level. And then you will also need a minimum of 70% in grade 11 or grade 12 English. Now, the specific courses are also a little bit different, because you will see that Vancouver also looks to make sure that you have taken those 3 grade 11 courses. So English at the grade 11 level, a language essentially other than English, so a secondary language at the grade 11 level, and that is specific for British Columbian students, as well as Pre-Calculus 11. And then again, we're looking for English 12, Pre-Calculus 12, Chemistry 12, and Physics 12, with a special note that we can admit students who are only presenting one of Chemistry 12 or Physics 12 if you are otherwise getting really good grades. So if you're not able to fit in both of those courses into your high school course load that you take, there is still a possibility to be admitted. You may need to alter your first year courses a little bit, but you can definitely always chat with me about that, or with an advisor about how you would modify your courses if that is the case at the Vancouver campus. Again, these are the BC requirements. You can check online for those specifics. Now, getting into a little bit more about what we look for, and in 1 second we'll talk a little bit more about those grades that I know some students have questions about. So overall, what we're looking for and what UBC is kind of assessing for is what sort of courses are you taking in high school? Did you take different types of subjects? So are you taking courses that are related to engineering, but also arts courses or option courses and things like that? Are you challenging yourself with advanced courses? So this may be IB courses, AP courses, or honors courses of some sort. And are you taking those courses related to engineering? Again, as I mentioned already, if you're not in BC, do check out the website so you can see those specific courses that would be applicable to you, as that will be different depending on which province or which country you are from. Now, when we look at assessing your application, this is where your average comes into play. So there are kind of three main components that we look at. We look at your personal profile, and for this, we're looking at what sort of activities have you been involved in as part of your time in high school. So really, we're looking for really short essay kind of questions about highlighting your experiences that you've been a part of outside of the classroom. And what it really should focus on is the reflection of what you've learned from yourself, rather than just the number of experiences that you've had. So it's great to list a whole bunch of things that you've been involved in, but what we really want to get from that personal profile is how have those experiences impacted who you are as a student. Now, when we come to look at grades, there's not going to be any specific grade that will ensure that you get in. Spending a lot of time on that personal profile and doing well in all of your grade 11 and grade 12 courses is really what will help you be the most competitive for your admission. When we look at first round offers, we're looking at students that have exceptional personal profiles and that have really good grades in all of their classes. And those grades or those courses that we're going to look at that point in time are going to be what's available to us that has a final grade. So for students applying with the first round offers, that's typically going to be everything that you completed while you were in grade 11. If you're being considered through our regular round of admission offers, typically we look at what's available as of March that has final grades in it. So that will be your grade 11 courses, as well as maybe whatever you took in first term of grade 12. So when I do mention these courses on the overall academic average and the core average, it's whatever is available at the time of assessment for you. So your academic profile is going to look at, like I said, both your overall and your core assessment. It'll consider your grade 11 and grade 12 courses, regardless of which year you took them in. So again, if you're taking grade 11 or grade 12 level courses in grade 10, we will look at them at that point in time. And the core academic average is going to be any grade 11 and grade 12 courses that are in the subject categories of language arts. So things like English, mathematics and computation, so your pre-calculus, calculus, things like that, as well as sciences. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of a sense. Unfortunately, I can't give an exact answer for an average because it really comes down to looking at the whole student profile, and looking at your personal profile as well as your grades in the courses. Now, as I mentioned already, kind of one of the main reasons that I encourage students to apply by December 1st is so that you can be considered for scholarships, because that is free money. And I don't know about you, but I love when I get free money, which is not very often anymore. But as a student, you should take advantage of it. So there are a lot of merit-based awards that will have automatic consideration as long as you apply by December 1st of the year that you're in grade 12 or of the year before you're planning to come to UBC. If you are in need of financial assistance, we also encourage you to apply by December 1st. That's typically a requirement. But again, double check the website because that can change every year. And also to submit the application to be considered for scholarships like the Centennial Scholars Entrance Award, the Beyond Tomorrow Scholars Award for Black Canadian students. And UBC Engineering also has started some entrance Indigenous student awards as well. So again, scholarships are your chance at free money. We encourage you to also apply for external scholarships. So look online. If any of you are currently in grade 12, get out there and start searching. I know there's a lot available right now for students. Search keywords like engineering, search STEM, search tech, technology. If you are a female identifying student and You can also search for terms like women in engineering, women in STEM, women in tech, and there are lots of awards available to students. Those can be available at any point. So do some research now, make a note of that, of when those dates typically are so that you can apply to them in the future. Or if you're planning on coming to UBC this fall, even if you're here today, then make sure you're applying to those awards, because I know I saw a lot that are kind of coming up with deadlines right away. So do keep an eye on those. And the scholarships I've mentioned here are specific to Canadian students. If you are an international student, we do have lots of scholarships as well. So please do check out the International Student Awards available to you. So we know that we've given you a lot of information today, and we'll get to more of those questions in just a second. And before we do that, though, I just kind of want to wrap up what we've gone through today. So, if you are thinking about engineering in the future, hopefully maybe you've learned a little bit more about what it takes to become a professional engineer, as Marie explained kind of near the beginning of the presentation. Hopefully you've learned a little bit about some of those programs that we do offer at UBC. There is a lot more that we can go into. We have a lot more videos available with presentations about diving deeper into specific types of engineering and things like that. So I do encourage you, if you're wanting to know more about a specific type of engineering, to check out those videos that are on our YouTube channel. But I also want you to stop and think for a second. Out of everything we've discussed today, is engineering something that you're interested in? Would you make a great engineer? So if you were to imagine a world without engineers, that would mean no buildings, no bridges, no cell phones, no life-saving devices, no medicine to heal us, no transportation. Life is pretty good in this moment, but engineers work every day to make our lives better than what they are right now. Engineers improve our environment, our technology, and our medicine. They build solutions to solve our problems and make the world a better place. So if you want to work on a team to solve problems, engineering might be for you. So again, some of those links are available here, and we are going to have the rest of the time for this session for you to ask your questions. So I am going to jump back a little bit because I know there were some questions that were really good that came in that we just didn't get a chance to talk about yet. But there are some great opportunities. We have our Engineering Stories YouTube channel, which talks about the student experience. You can see day in the life of different types of students and different programs. You can learn more about current engineers like that have recently graduated that are working in engineering, and learn more about what they're doing in their everyday job. You can check out our website for more information. And if you go to the UBC Engineering YouTube channel, then you can also see all of the recorded presentations where we get more into things like careers and all sorts of different aspects related to engineering and UBC engineering. So I do encourage you to check those out. And of course, you can contact myself or Marie at any point in time. So Marie is happy to answer lots of questions about the Okanagan campus, while my focus is on the Vancouver campus. But you can always email us with any questions that you have after today. One of the questions was between mechanical engineering at the Okanagan campus versus the Vancouver campus. Marie, do you want to speak a little bit more to that?
Sure. There's also one that just came at the very bottom about civil. So
Okay.
I think they'd be applied to both. So just to reiterate, at the Okanagan campus, we have mechanical, civil, electrical, and manufacturing engineering. And at the Vancouver campus, they also have all 4 of those types of engineering plus 10 more. So really, when you're deciding which campus to go to, either campus, you're going to get an engineering degree, you're getting the same UBC degree. It just really, you're choosing the lifestyle you like to have, the type of university you like to go to. There's differences in class sizes, campus sizes. Vancouver is obviously a bigger campus. It's more like a city feel. The Okanagan campus is a smaller, so tight-knit community where basically what students have told me is that they really like being able to pretty much know everyone in their classes because we do have some smaller classes at the Okanagan campus. But you're gonna, if you choose mechanical at UBC Okanagan or UBC Vancouver, you're gonna come out with the same mechanical engineering degree from UBC. The other main difference is that at the Okanagan campus, there are no caps on our program. So if you would like mechanical engineering, you're guaranteed a seat in that, or civil engineering. And in Vancouver, it is competitive based on GPA and a personal statement. So that's sort of another I guess, consideration for students. But like Erin mentioned, and I just want to reiterate, please try to start at the campus you'd like to finish at, because transferring between campuses is very competitive, with only about 10 to 15 students successfully transferring each year. So we really highly recommend you start at the campus you want to finish at if that's possible.
One other kind of difference between some of the programs will be the options available within those programs. So we mentioned a little bit about the minors or dual degrees available at both campus, but each campus may have options in some programs. Now, not every program is going to have options in them, but mechanical engineering is one where it does have some similar and some different options at both campuses. So that's something that you can look into to see if that's kind of where you're leaning towards as well. Marie, do you want to mention what the options are for the Okanagan campus?
Yeah, so for mechanical engineering students, we actually have a brand new option that was just approved a few days ago for aerospace engineering option. We also have a mechatronics option, which is really a combination of mechanical and electrical engineering. And we have a biomedical option for mechanical engineering students. For civil engineering students, we now have an environmental engineering option, and we have a resilient infrastructure management option.
Awesome. And I know there was another question about structural engineering. So we don't have any program specifically called structural engineering, but typically that would be civil engineering at either campus. So just a different name than maybe what you're used to or where you've seen somewhere else. And just to mention the options for mechanical engineering at the Vancouver campus, we have those same options, as well as one in thermofluids. So otherwise, it's the same options that Marie mentioned for mechanical engineering. The civil engineering program at Vancouver doesn't have specific options, but there is still a way to kind of customize some of your courses that you're taking through your technical electives that you get to take later in your degree. So you can still kind of decide on those sorts of things, but we don't have the specific options like listed at the Okanagan campus.
I'm just going to build off of that, Erin, quick. There are just a couple questions at the bottom related to civil that you were just talking about. So one is, can you become a structural engineer with a civil engineering degree? So that answer is yes. If you're at the UBC Vancouver Okanagan campus, if you're going into structural engineering, you would take civil and take structural engineering courses. And that's when you would gain more experience as an engineer in training. And then when you become a professional engineer, but your degree would be civil engineering. And there's a question, Erin, about why is civil engineering more competitive in the Vancouver campus compared to the Okanagan? And I just wanted to re-clarify that at the Okanagan campus, we do not have caps. So that's the reason why there is no competitive part of second year placement, and that's just the structure of our campus. At the Okanagan campus, we're still able to accommodate any number of seats and all of our specializations, so we don't have to have a competitive process for second year placement at this time.
Perfect. Yeah, and it's just that all the programs at just the second year placement process at the Vancouver campus is considered competitive because every program has a certain number of seats, essentially. Some will be more competitive than others, and you'll be kind of given all of that information in your first year courses of kind of how that whole process works.
There's a trend of questions that start at the top, Erin, about if IB, AP, and A-level credits will help with their admissions.
Yeah. So as mentioned, we are going to look at what sorts of courses you have taken. So if you have taken honors courses or AP courses or IB courses or A-level courses, those are all going to be considered as part of your admissions. If you are a student taking the full IB diploma program, then you can look again online to see what your admission requirements are for that process. There's a little bit of a different process for students that are in the full diploma program. However, basically what we're looking at UBC is just kind of what courses you've taken. So in terms of assessing you for admission, we're still going to look at those same components. However, kind of where the additional advantage comes from those programs is that you may be eligible for first year credit. So that means that you may be able to get credit for a first year course from having gotten the appropriate score in your AP, IB, or A-level courses. And so that's on the first year credit website on UBC. You can check that out. Now, having said that, I would be a little bit cautious. So your engineering degree is based off of your first year physics and math courses that you're taking. So we do caution you on, even if you're scoring really well on those courses and getting that transfer credit, that maybe you should consider taking those courses when you are at UBC. So that's always our recommendation. For any student here that is in grade 12 and just came for more information, maybe is already planning to come to UBC this year, we always recommend registering in all of your courses, and then you can decide whether you want to drop from those courses and just use your credit later on closer to the start of classes, or even once you've attended a couple of classes. For other courses where you're typically required to have, your first year English class and a humanities, if you have those credits coming in from AP, IB, or A levels, then you're definitely welcome to use those. That can help lighten your course load. The other advantages that we see from those programs is that you'll have experience writing large exams, whereas not all high school students have that experience of going into a large gymnasium and having to write that full exam with a whole bunch of people sitting there, which is what you'll have to do in first year and throughout your degree. And again, the other advantage is that because the curriculum is very similar to what you may learn in first year, is that can also provide an advantage that your first year courses are more of a review with a little bit of expanding on what you learned in high school. And so you're able to maybe jump into that understanding a little bit more, or you're getting a more solid foundation in some cases because you have a good understanding of those concepts already. So those are all kind of some ways. It's definitely not something that's required, and it's not something that will cause a disadvantage to you in any way if you are not taking those programs. But those are kind of some of the key areas, especially if you're thinking of, should I do IB or AP or something like that in the future, if you're kind of planning ahead for your future program. So hopefully that kind of addresses those pieces.
Switching gears a little bit, Erin, there's a question from the beginning here. Is it more challenging to get into UBC if you take an engineering transfer program compared to direct entry?
So if you are in the engineering transfer program at one of our partner institutions and are planning to come to either the Vancouver or the Okanagan campus, as long as you complete that full first year and meet the 3.1 GPA, then you will be admitted to second year. If you are transferring from just another institution, or if you do not complete that full first year from in that one academic term, so September through April, which is what standard year is in university in Canada. So if you are not completing all of those courses, if you're coming in from another institution, that's where it will be competitive. And we do recommend trying to ensure that you're completing our first year program or as close to that as you can. It is very competitive to transfer into first year. It is much less competitive to transfer into second year. But I'd always recommend that if you're planning to start somewhere else and you have the option to be in that engineering transfer program with our partner institutions, to start there, because it's set up where you're going to ensure all of your courses transfer to UBC Engineering and that you're starting in second year. And then with that process, you'll be going through the same second year placement process that our first year students go through. So that piece of getting into your program would be the same.
That's great. And that's the same for the Okanagan campus. Those engineering transfer programs are the same. So I would also recommend, if you can get into second year through a transfer program, that is definitely ideal.
Yeah. So we do have just a couple minutes left. I think we've answered most of the questions. There is one question about going into med school after engineering, and that definitely does happen for some students. So if you are interested in going into medicine, it's definitely a possibility. A lot of the medical schools in Canada have really reduced their required courses to get in. So typically they require a full year of English, and they have some recommendations. You would need to take things like the MCAT and stuff like that. But it's definitely a possibility. And we do have students every year that will finish their engineering degree and go into medicine for sure. So it's definitely something you can do. At the Vancouver campus, we have the pre-med alternative pathway, where it actually modifies your schedule a little bit to fit in a full year of chemistry in that first year, and kind of helps you with fitting in some of those other courses that are recommended to take for medicine throughout your degree. So that's an option that you could look into, but you could also do that on your own, or do that self-study for the MCAT and things like that as well.
So Erin, I think we have time for one more question, and I see one that's, I think, a quick question here. Is the engineering program a set amount of courses per year? And at the Okanagan campus, students who take a 4-year degree plan, which is finishing your degree in 4 years, you take 6 courses per term. If you're in our 5-year degree program, which is an option and a personal choice, you take 5 courses per term for 5 years. And this is a reduced course load that students will decide to do, if they just want to work or join clubs or do research or lots of other things that we talked about today. And at the Vancouver campus, it is similar, but I'll pass it over to you, Erin.
Yeah, so at the Vancouver campus, there is a set amount of courses per year per program, and that can differ from program to program. So in first year, you'll take 6 courses in one term and 7 courses in the other term, and that is basically set of what those courses are. Again, there's some differences as well. So if you are in the pre-biomedical standard timetable, that'll be a little bit different. If you are in that pre-med alternative pathway, that'll be a little bit different. But depending on which path you're taking or which program you're in, there's going to be a set amount of courses. And for the most case, those courses are determined of which courses you're taking. There will be a few options that you take, and there will be a few technical electives, which are engineering courses, but maybe not part of your program specifically. So there is some flexibility, but pretty much those courses are set out for you, and it's going to be roughly between 37 and 42 credits per year. Credits is just what we assign that to a class, so it's not that many classes per year, but you're typically looking at like 6 to 7 courses per term, usually depending on the program that you're in and what year level you're at and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, I think that wraps us up for today. Lots of really great questions. Hopefully we were able to answer everyone's question. And just a reminder, you're always welcome to send us an email if you do think of other questions. We are happy to help out. You can always send me an email in the future if even down the road you're like, oh, I'm not sure what Erin said about this one thing in that presentation from 3 months ago. Feel free to send me an email and I'm happy to help you out. We also have a great way for you to talk to our students. So we are in the process of recruiting more ambassadors right now, but on our website, you can always use the chat with a student feature. We don't currently have anyone from the Okanagan campus on there, but we will soon. So that's always a great way to get connected with our current students, and you can chat with them, find out more about design teams or the courses that they've taken or the program that they're in and things like that. So that's something that you can definitely take advantage of. But otherwise, and I will post that link right now. Otherwise, thank you so much for joining us. Have a great evening or a great rest of your day wherever you are. And let us know if you ever have any questions in the future. Hopefully, many of you will consider UBC Engineering in the future and we'll be able to get to see you on campus at some point. So thank you so much, everyone. Have a great evening.
Thank you.